This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV for Friday, February 16th, 2024. I'm Derek Gilbert. It's our Friday 5, the 5 things you need to know going into the weekend. A lot of good stuff today. Topic number 5, the deep state versus Donald Trump. Told you yesterday about the new report by investigative journalists Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, Alex Gutentag about how the binder of information on Russian collusion might have been what the FBI was after when they raided Mar-a-Lago, Trump's home in Florida. Well, today they expand on that. Last December 15th, they report, CNN ran a very extraordinary article under the headline, "The Mystery of the Missing Binder, How a Collection of Raw Russian Intelligence Disappeared Under Trump." The tone of the article was that during the final chaotic days during Trump's presidency in January of 2021, a binder of intelligence information went missing, raising concerns that some of America's most closely guarded intelligence secrets might be exposed. What Schellenberger, Taibbi, and Gutentag report today is that the exposure was not quite what CNN reported. What they were afraid of being made public was the widespread abuses of intelligence authority during the 2016 election campaign. Transgressions include the Justice Department's surveillance of domestic political targets. This, again, during the final days of the Obama presidency, using the CIA under John Brennan to target Trump using foreign intelligence services, the other Five Eyes nations, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom, and then sharing that information back to the CIA, who then laundered that information through friendly media outlets that they could then take to the FBI and to a FISA court to get warrants to do it legally. They were essentially information laundering or news laundering in order to get the legal cover to do what they did. The CNN story claimed that intelligence officials were concerned about disclosing sources and methods, but the real aim here, the real story, is how a team handpicked by CIA Director John Brennan relied on cooked or laundered intelligence to put together a bogus intelligence community assessment, January 6th, 2017, again, the final days of the Obama presidency. And by the way, the details on that aspect of the story, Brennan and his handpicked team, published by Taibbi, Schellenberger, and Gutentag today on their Substack accounts. Corruption, bottom line here is corruption is actually what officials were trying to keep secret. And again, that may be why the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, to get that binder back so that Trump couldn't actually make it public. He had tried to do so to get it declassified. The CIA would not cooperate because, again, they didn't want to reveal how deeply they had been involved in interfering with the presidential election in 2016 and perhaps again even in 2020. Topic number 4, an elderly man with a poor memory. That is the description of the President of the United States by Special Counsel Robert Hur. We told you about that earlier this week. That story was released a week ago Thursday, of course. That's when Hur released his report explaining why he chose not to charge President Biden for mishandling top secret documents, storing them in a cardboard box in his garage with his Corvette convertible. Again, these documents date back to his time in the Senate and as vice president when he didn't have the constitutional authority to declassify any documents. Biden held a press conference after the report and made things worse, threw gasoline on the fire. And this week, it's been a major topic of conversation. President Biden's cognitive decline is on display for all the world to see. And the bigger story here is that the corporate media is running with the story, which is the deep state's way of saying, Joe, it's time to get out of the way. Now, does this mean that President Trump has a clear path back to the White House? No, it does not. There's a lot that can happen between now and November. Christians, just remember, salvation cometh not at the ballot box. Our mission is still to make disciples of all nations, by which the scripture means all ethnos, all ethnicities. Make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Topic number 3, 2 states. Kind of related to that supernatural war is what's happening in Israel, of course, the ongoing war with Hamas, now in the southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah, but also ramping up in the north along the border with Lebanon and Hezbollah. We learned this week that Secretary of State Tony Blinken has asked his team at the State Department to prepare policy options for recognizing an independent Palestinian state, with or without the agreement of the Israelis. Again, this is problematic because any territories, you can see by the areas in red there, would be inside the current borders, the de facto borders of Israel, even if they're not internationally recognized. This will never happen. It simply will not happen. The Israelis are unified in a way they were not a year ago at this time, when there was a lot of protest over the proposed judicial reforms being pushed by the Netanyahu administration. But, and just from a military standpoint, when you look at a topographical map, the area in red there, what the world calls the West Bank, Judea and Samaria to the Israelis, that's the high ground. That's the hill country. High ground from a military standpoint is what you want, because you want your enemy trying to attack you by charging up a hill. The Israelis will never give that back. And if the United States is going to force it, I think the United States is going to find itself on the wrong side of history from a supernatural standpoint. Topic number 2, Kansas City. This is a tragic story that, of course, developed on Wednesday afternoon. The celebration after the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory, their third in 5 years, ended in tragedy as a mass shooting left 22 people injured, 1 person killed. We are still waiting for, as of this recording on Thursday afternoon, more information on the suspects arrested. One pictured here from one of the television news accounts. We do know that 1 adult and 2 juveniles were arrested. According to police, it appears that some kind of a dispute resulted in the mass shooting. That seems unlikely, but again, I don't know enough to comment one way or the other. The victims' ages, those who were shot, range from 8 years old to 47 years old. Half of the victims under the age of 16. Fire officials said that the victims included 8 who were critically wounded, 7 seriously hurt. The one fatality, the woman killed, Lisa Lopez Galvan, who was a disc jockey who did a program in local radio station KKFI 90.1 FM. And our prayers are with the Galvan family. Coming up, story we didn't touch earlier this week. I'm still trying to process it in my head. The Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin. What do we make of that and the media's reaction to it? That's next on 5 and 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make you aware of an opportunity to get 3 DVDs right now in the brand new Silent Pandemic collection. Now, this collection includes 3 DVDs. So let's back up just for a second. First, you're going to receive the brand new DVD, Viral Defense, evidence-based methodology for optimizing your immunity against COVID-19, long COVID, spike proteins, and future viral outbreaks, along with the new DVD, Fight Back Against Alzheimer's, Dementia, MCI, and Cognitive Decline. But you're also going to receive the over 5-hour DVD, My Classic Time Bomb, which features off-the-record interviews with professionals in healthcare, Dr. Matthew Sams, Dr. Ralph Umbriaco, Dr. Josh Vance, and contains the original interview with my father from a couple of years ago, where he actually talked about how he reversed his type 2 diabetes with natural supplementation and change to lifestyle. All 3 of these DVDs actually total almost 10 hours for those interested in improving their gut health, their overall immunity, learning how to watch labels and how to better navigate grocery stores, what is going on with spike proteins and shed spike protein residues, all of this anomalistic stuff that's happening out there in the stratosphere. But if you're one who does not have a DVD player, this is something I've learned over the last year or so. There's a lot of people migrating away from DVD. So Skywatch TV is also going to take this occasion to let you know that moving forward, as often as we can, which hopefully is each time we have a guest with a DVD or we put one out ourselves, we're also going to ask you to go to skywatchtv.com/stream for the streaming options. Now, this will get you out of having to pay for shipping. If you're a person who doesn't want the DVD sitting on a shelf somewhere, you're not a collector, you don't need the physical copy, but you want to see the content. So if you want the DVD copies of all 3 of these right now while supplies last, you can get the Silent Pandemic collection in physical copy for your donation of $35 plus shipping and handling. But if you want to stream these, go to skywatchtv.com/stream. You will see a couple of different options. First, you can stream just Fight Back Against Alzheimer's for $15, or you can stream the Viral Defense DVD by itself for $20, or you can stream all three, which total the 10 hours that I just mentioned on all of the above, for only $20 right now in a special silent pandemic bundle right now.
Topic number one this week, proper propaganda. Or improper propaganda, which is, I think, why Tucker Carlson is being so heavily criticized by the media this week. The interview that he released on X, formerly Twitter, with Vladimir Putin last week was really interesting in the reactions that it generated. On the one hand, you've got people criticizing Carlson for daring to do it at all. On the other hand, you've got those who are praising Vladimir Putin for laying down some truth to counter the lies coming from the deep state. Somewhere in between those two viewpoints, I think, is what really happened. I think Carlson did a good job with the interview, asking good questions, trying to probe for some answers. While at the same time, Vladimir Putin is a masterful politician. And when you sit down with a politician to ask questions during an interview, don't expect objective truth necessarily. You get what he wants you to think. And Putin did a wonderful job from his perspective of laying out his case for why Russia went to war in Ukraine. He opened the interview with a 30-minute history lesson on the history of the Russian state from its founding by the Varangians, who were essentially Vikings, who were invited down to the vicinity of Kiev by the locals in, the 8th century A.D.? And then from there, that became the Russian kingdom and eventually the Russian Empire. Well, that included the recent history of Russia's relations with NATO and NATO's promises not to expand 1 inch eastward after World War II. Of course, that's not what happened. And when Russia complained, the response by NATO leaders was, should have had it in writing. I don't think the Russians took that very well. Clearly, Mr. Putin didn't. He explained that this is why Russia is angry and felt compelled finally to go to war to protect Russian citizens, people of Russian extraction living in the east of Ukraine and in the Crimea. Regardless of whether you agree with Putin or not, and I'm not carrying water for Vladimir Putin here, he at least made a case, a cogent, coherent case for his worldview and said, this is why I'm angry. We can disagree and say, okay, look, we have a different view of the history of things, but let's try to work together to find some common ground here so we don't start throwing nuclear weapons back and forth. And I think the longer the neocons like Victoria Nuland and her ilk here in the United States, Ursula von der Leyen in the EU, continue to respond with, your view of history is completely wrong and you have no right to be angry, the danger grows that we end up at World War III. That, to me, was the takeaway from the Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin. Skywatch TV's virtual conference, Countering the Darkness, goes live on the web February 29th, available for 90 days thereafter. This, of course, features Tom Horn's last presentation, recorded last fall before he became ill, 24 other cutting-edge presentations, and access to 6 feature-length documentaries from Skywatch Films, including the award-winning Inhuman, The Next and Final Phase of Man is Here, narrated by my best friend, Sharon K. Gilbert, and Silent Cry, The Darker Side of Trafficking, Ragnarok, Humanity's Last Stand, based on Tom Horn's book, The Wormwood Prophecy. All of that available to you for 90 days when you sign up. Do so now at defenderconference.com. That's defenderconference.com. This week on Skywatch TV, we continue talking about SARS-CoV-2. That's the virus behind COVID-19, and long COVID, the spike protein on the outside of that virus. There may be things you can do nutritionally to help alleviate the symptoms of long COVID. Joe Artis-Horn talks about that and about his new video presentations on that kind of on that issue, as well as dementia and cognitive decline, a subject that hits close to home for many of us. Find out more at our website right now. That's where you can watch this week's program, skywatchtv.com. You can also see it at our Roku and Apple TV channels. It's also available right now at our YouTube channel for the main program. That's youtube.com/@skywatchtv now. On Rumble, rumble.com/skywatchtv. But better yet, get our free mobile app. Our app available for iOS, Android, and Amazon Kindle Fire phones and tablets. It is free of charge, has additional features as well, and best of all, bypasses the gatekeepers of big tech because we won't be canceled from our own app. Thank you for watching as we keep watching. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.